There's the thing. There's this thing. Here we go.
The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Brewbuster. What is the name of our podcast?
Is that the first time you've ever said the name of the show wrong?
Give it a shot. I fucked up already. It's you. It's you. It's all you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of your favorite brews.
There it is. I almost had it.
I am not your
Wow.
host. This is your host, Dan Baker,
It was a long fucking week. Give me a
joined by his co-host and brewologist.
This is episode 210, Dan. You've done the exact same intro with the change of one adjective for 210 episodes. I'm Steph Hefner.
And I am the demented and fermented Wayne Baker.
Eventually, I'll think of a better rhyming scheme for that, but I got to get down the name of the show first.
Fair enough, fair enough. Welcome to Beer Busters. I'm going to pass it off to my co-host, Dan.
I was kind of hoping you were
To
going to
take
keep
over
rolling
the-
with
oh,
it.
I'm gonna keep
I
rolling
mean,
with
I
it.
can take it back if you want.
Joining us today from Allentown, Pennsylvania, from McCall Collective Brewing Company, we have...
Caitlin McCall, owner of McCall Collective Brewing.
And Matt McCall, brewer.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Lovely
And
to
what's the
virtually have you
puppy's
here.
name?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
we
there's a
gotta
dog.
know.
Yeah, Tucker. He's not the best.
He is. He just likes attention a lot.
I'm sure he's a good boy.
He is.
He's a very good boy.
We like brewery puppies.
Yes, very much so. So I've already messed up a fair share of the important part of the intro to the show, first sentence, and I already messed it up. But you know what? We're going to recover from that. Wayne's already done a great job, and we're going to have a lot of cool stuff that is happening, a lot of happenings from the Allentown beer world that we're going to have to discuss. But remember, those of you listening to this out there right now, it's beaming into your ear holes and directly into your brain. But if you want something for your eyes to look at, make sure you go to the online presence that we have at Beer Busters on Twitter and Instagram. I have to look at my notes because I already fucked it up and now I'm nervous. At Beer Busters on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook, we are Beer Busters Podcast. Don't forget beerbusterspodcast.com. There's beerbusterspodcast.com/shop. Get yourself some coveted merch. And, of course, patreon.com/beerbusters. Oh, and don't forget to sub to our OnlyFans because that's like a thing. It's not, don't do it. Don't fucking do that. I just I'm throwing that out there. Maybe we should. Who knows?
I don't know what that means.
You don't want to know.
You
That's
don't
fair.
want to know.
Dan did forget one thing other than the name of the podcast. You'd also want to go to youtube.com/beerbusterspodcast.
I was leaving that one to you. I mean, I could have said that because you did my job already.
That's fair.
But
That's
yeah, that's
fair.
like your territory.
As some of you may know, we've recently started filming, recording the video of the trivia game segment of each episode, and then doing a little editing and a little graphics and putting that up on YouTube so you can watch it in sort of like a game show format. If you want to check that out, youtube.com/beerbusterspodcast. Don't forget the podcast, because if you don't include it, you will go to a YouTube channel that is not ours, and it won't be as good.
Yeah, don't give them your views. Give us your views.
Buy merchandise, go to Patreon, follow us online.
Yes, of course. We are already drinking. So thanks to the overwhelming amount of packages that are going through various shipping services, and it's none of these services' faults. Wayne and I do not have beer as of yet from McCall Collective. However, I'm very much looking forward to the package you guys were kind enough to send, and thank you for doing that. Apparently, according to the tracking number, it's in Philly. It just hasn't made it to us yet.
It's gotten very close.
Yeah,
but Steph has plenty
does.
of McCall Collective beers to sample during
And
the
as
course
I
of the
told
episode.
Chris, I said, well, I'm the expert and I have the beer, so that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. And of course, Dan and I are never without beer to drink. We
That's
have
true.
plenty of beer
Yeah.
in our fridges. So we're just going to be sipping on some random things throughout the episode as well. Maybe we'll chime in about them if they're important or particularly good. But focus is on McCall. Steph's got the McCall beer,
Yeah.
so we'll live vicariously
so-
through her.
Well, first I want to mention that McCall does have beers available both in cans and crowlers, and I love the artwork on the crowler. It has a really classy sketch of the amazing building where these guys are located. So I'm sure we'll get into a little more details about that. And I just love the color scheme and the logo. And I'm hoping we'll be able to chat. I'm sure we'll chat about this also. I should have had the can ready. I want to thank Sam from Bond because he's the one that connected me with Chris so that we could set this up. And I have one can left. McCall did a collaboration with Sam.
You could probably sell that on
Bond.
the internet for some money.
No, wait, this is freaking delicious. I love this shit. It's all my power not to drink all of them. I'm going to save one in case we want to drink it on the show. But I love like the nod to your crowler design in the can for the collaboration because it has Bond's location sketched and then the McCall location also sketched on there. So I thought I've never seen a crowler or a can with that kind of art, and I thought it was really interesting. But we started out with Cinnablonde, the blonde ale, and Caitlin, I remember when we came up to pick up the beer from you guys, you mentioned about you guys got to have the Cinnablonde. I remember you specifically mentioning this one, so I wanted to start off with this one. It's really freaking nice. You get all of the nuances of a blonde ale, which sometimes I get nervous when adjuncts or other flavorings are added to a beer. You sometimes lose the integrity of the base style, but you still get all of the things I love about a blonde ale. And the cinnamon just perfectly like holds it up, perhaps. I don't know, but it's 6%, which I was surprised because it's super easy drinking. But Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit about this beer and maybe Caitlin, why this beer is so special to you guys?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that beer is, people always are a little bit nervous about it, mostly because, like you said, it's a blonde ale with adjuncts and cinnamon in it. But, one of the things I like to kind of pride myself on is in beer, whether it's, a blonde ale or IPA or anything really, is balance. I don't like it to have too much of any one thing. So I wanted the malt to kind of be the show, a star of the show. And then, the cinnamon is kind of very relaxed. It's not overpowering. It's not, anything like that. And then the lactose is, very light-handed. We don't use a lot of it. So, it all kind of comes together to make a nice, approachable, not overly sweet adjunct beer. So
I imagine this must be pretty popular, especially once people have tried it. Because it's easy drinking and it's really tasty.
Yeah, and one other thing I forgot to mention is we use Marianne's Donuts in the mash. So
that's so cool.
Anybody that doesn't know Marianne's Donuts, it's a local staple here in Allentown. So we had a lot of people that were excited to try it just because of that. I think that's one other thing that makes it pretty cool.
Is this a beer that you frequently brew, or is this like a once and done kind of beer?
So what's funny is we had planned for it to be a once and done. We were like, oh yeah, we'll make this. This will be cool. But people loved it so much that we had to brew it twice. And we're probably going to keep it on as just a regular, something that we have on all the time.
Well, I love it because it has just enough gimmick to catch our attention and make us be like, I kind of want to try that. But it's tasty enough to make, obviously, people come back for more because they're demanding it. So really tasty beer to start off with.
Awesome.
Wayne and Dan, what are you drinking?
We just finished our Politamave. I was able to stop at Human Robot the other night, and I got a 4-pack of that. I can't if it's ever available to go. I will never leave without that beer.
Yeah, I drank my last can of Politamave this week, so rest in peace. And I need to get back down to Philly just to buy that beer.
There was what did I text you about? There was one you need to have. It was at
Mole Stout from Love City, and you want to know what my reaction was?
What?
I was like, why didn't he say, hey, you want me to pick you up some Mole Stout? You're like, no, you got to get down here and get the Mole Stout.
Because I don't know the next time I'm going to be in Reading to give you beer.
Okay. Well, I would have Venmo'd you and let you age it for me.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure I'll be back. I've still got to get my keg from them, so I'll pick you some
if you
up
get back and they still have it, please pick it up.
Yeah.
Let me know and I'll Venmo you.
Sounds good.
So I was digging through our bag of tricks here, speaking of what beers Dan and I are enjoying, because we did just finish our Politamave, and I was trying to find something that would kind of like mesh with the Cinnablonde after hearing about it. We have a pastry stout, which like not really, but that does kind of bring up an interesting point I wanted to mention, is that I don't know that I've ever heard of a blonde ale with cinnamon. It's really cool to see these sort of ingredients that you see in a lot of beers, like coffee beers and cinnamon and vanilla, but seeing brewers using those ingredients in styles that you don't expect. I'll never forget the first time we had the coffee Kolsch at St. Benjamin. It's the first time any of us, I think, had a coffee beer that wasn't a porter or a stout. So hearing about a cinnamon in a blonde ale and hearing Steph praise the beer, obviously it's got to be great because Steph has great taste. So I'm excited to try it when I can get my hand on it.
Same. Same.
Very cool.
So what is this pastry stout you're pulling out?
Well, I guess I'm going to open it now since we're talking about
Yeah.
it. This is another. We have 2 beers left from Shy Bear from the holiday package they sent us. This is their oatmeal cookie cream ale.
Ooh, yeah, I saw
So-
that and then forgot about it. This is a pleasant
Yeah,
surprise.
so this actually
Wait, we
isn't what I
realized
thought it was.
stout.
It's not a stout.
It's not, it's a cream ale, I
So
just
this is
realized.
perfect.
So I-
It's a cream ale.
This was actually a very good beer to pick.
No, that was one of my favorite beers from the Shy Bear package. It's because I also seen the can, assumed it was going to be dark, and I poured it, and I was like, "Wait, what?" And it very similar looking to this blonde ale, and another really good example of brewers doing this kind of work with styles we wouldn't expect.
Yeah,
Matt, what are you opening up?
I got our Heady Mercury. It's our first single hop IPA, double IPA that we're doing a whole line of. We're calling them one hop wonders, kind of single hop double IPA that pays homage to some sort of legendary musician. So this is number 1. Our second one's coming out in about a week and a half.
I really
Nice.
like that artwork that's on that can.
I
That's
absolutely
incredible.
love it. Queen has a very special place in my heart, and Freddie Mercury is like that artist I wish I could have seen live before he died, kind of thing. But
Yep.
I was way too
Same.
young then. So when I saw you guys post on social media, I was like, "Oh my god, I need that beer!" And my friend Ron actually is the biggest Queen fan ever, and he loves hoppy beers. And right now he started the new year doing one of those crazy diets where you can't eat carbs for like 3 weeks. So when you guys gave me 2 cans of this, I was so excited. And I said, I'm going to put 1 can away. And I told Ron that once he was allowed to have carbs, I would give him that beer. So he's beyond excited. I think this weekend we're going to get to see him. He can have his first carbs of 2021. And it will be that beer.
Excellent.
That is
So I'm
awesome.
saving that. I'm going to drink that a little later. I'll save when it's do the non-hoppy ones first.
Nice.
So
Well,
what do you think of the oatmeal cookie?
I like it. It's good. It's good. I'm not a huge fan of like the pastry whatever. In most cases, this one is very drinkable. This is a beer though that I think that like if I had this whole can to myself, Dan and I are splitting it. If I had this whole can to myself, I wouldn't go for a second one. It's one of those
Yeah.
beers like you can have one and enjoy it, but then it's like a bit much.
I think
But
I'd go
it is
back for
nice
more.
and it drinks nice and it's interesting to have a oatmeal cookie cream ale.
Yeah, I'd go back
See-
for more. I really like that it kind of it gets the flavor across of having like an oatmeal raisin cookie.
Yeah.
But
I was
let's-
surprised that I loved it as much as I did because I don't normally care for beers like that, but I love an oatmeal cookie though.
Can't go wrong.
It does have
Gotta
a very authentic oatmeal
I
cookie.
also love Oreos, and I love the Oreo cheesecake beer that Ethan did at Stickman.
I
so.
still can't believe how incredible that beer was. It had no right to be that good. It really didn't.
So now that we got the beers out of the way,
Yes. We're going to sort of return to form with a little bit of news. Obviously, there is a lot that is happening in the world in so many ways and places, and that's why I kind of wanted to forego the news for a while. But Steph had the idea of talking about the winners from the 2021 Pennsylvania Farm Show beer competition. I think that is very timely and appropriate. I got to skim through the first couple of categories of it, so most of this may actually be a cold read for me, and the first one's real confusing, but hey, more
this is
power
that
to 'em.
bombshell we
This
talked about.
We're going to start with the bombshell because that's the first one on this article. In the category of light lagers and ales, number 1. Let's go from third. This site that I'm looking at has a way of not counting down; they count up. Number 3 was, I might say this wrong, Old Mach Chunk Lager from Coningham Brewing.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
I don't think I am either. Second place, McCall Collective Brewing Company. With what is it? Is it light done right? Is that how? Congrats on that, guys. That's awesome.
Don't read the first one.
Yeah, that's the one that.
So what edged
confuses
you
the
out?
hell
What
out
could
of me.
possibly have beaten you out for that top spot in light lagers and ales?
So I will say, now having been to a World Beer Cup award ceremony, that you'd be surprised at how many bigger breweries win the competitions year after year. And I think a lot of it has to do with their packaging and how fresh the beer is when the judges are drinking it.
Yeah.
They have multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment to package their beer. So
Right, yeah,
that's
yeah.
my excuse, and I'm sticking with it.
No, it's
That's
a
good
fair
point.
point because the one that did come in at number 1 has the resources to get their beer into as many places as possible. But I think that says a lot about you guys as a local operation out of Allentown, that you're able to come in second place to fucking Lion's Head Pilsner.
No way.
Yeah. Don't get me
one.
wrong. I've enjoyed a Lion's Head or two in my time, but I'm surprised to see that took home number one.
I think it was probably the Riddles.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the only fun part of drinking that beer these days. But I'll let somebody else drink it. And I'll do the riddles.
You know, I think we've all gotten to the point now where we can recognize that like not all macro beers are bad just because they're macro beers. Like there's big beers out there that are good. You know, Hannah from Naked said she loves that beer.
Yeah,
you know, and
I mean it's a standby. It's a go-to.
An incredible brewer. Yeah, so
I think it's too light of a.
But
Pilsner.
it's interesting your point about their having an edge in competitions just because they have. You know, I mean, even if it's not like obviously the way the packaging looks on a beer or the way a brand is presented shouldn't affect the judging, and I assume the judging is done blind. But also just the packaging, being able to keep the beer fresh and stable and present it. You know, it does kind of give you an advantage that a smaller place might not have. It's something I never really thought about. It's an interesting point.
We move on to the amber lager category.
Here we go.
Coming in second place was Boom City Brewing Company. They're amber. Number one, friends of the show, Modoc Brewery, a beer for dad. Congrats to them. In the dark lager category, I love looking through and seeing names of breweries that we've had on the show. This is great. Number two in the dark lager category was the Hunkle's Dunkel from Warwick Farm Brewing, and in first place was Two Rivers Brewing with the Banger Slate Baltic Porter, which I don't remember. Have we had that when we were there? I don't quite remember.
I've had the Baltic Porter. I don't remember if we had it on the show, but I've had it. And it is amazing.
I don't doubt that it's amazing. The wheat beer was Wallen Pawpack Brewing Company's Hawley Hefeweizen Pale Ale. Poor Man's Brewing Company, friends of the show.
Cheers.
Carter. We have a return in the. I'm going to guess PA is Pale Ale category, which includes IPAs. Coming in second, our esteemed guests at McCall Collective Brewing Company with the Lehigh IPA. Congrats again on that.
Yeah.
And number one in that category was Poor Man's Brewing Company again, Going Broke IPA. See, at least that wasn't Lion's Head that that happened to, to take you out that one. Right. In the category of greater than 7.5% alcohol by volume, God damn it, Lion's Head.
They have a whole category that's just any style over 7.5%. Is that what that category
that's what it looks like. It's category and then parentheses above 7%. I don't know if they just like...
So that one, I think that one's just IPA.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I think it's a typo on the website. I think they just missed that.
Given the source, I'm not entirely surprised.
Yeah, that's got to be IPA. Interesting.
I saw that look, Steph. Stout... First place was Dock Street Brewery, their Bean to Bean Espresso Stout. I don't know if I've had that, but I feel like we should go get it because they're right down the street, essentially. Belgian style was Wet Hop Farmhouse Ale from Wallen Pawpack Brewing Company. Going into the Kettle Sour category, Blackberry Rosemary Sour Ale from I'm never going to say that right.
Coiningham.
Thank you. Brewing Company. We go into mixed fermentation sour, Allegheny City Brewing, their Nova Goose. And then Two Rivers came in at number one with the Lady Juliana Flanders Red. And then we get into one that's near and dear to my liver. Barrel Aged. Bedford Butcher Brew. I can't fucking talk tonight. Third place, Bedford Butcher Brew.
Bedford Butcher Brew comes in third place in the Barrel Aged category. Moving into our final category of the competition.
Didn't go through second.
Warwick Farm was first with their rum stout, and now the final category.
I wasn't paying attention to where Dan went off the rails there. Sorry.
Literally the beginning of the show.
Yeah, pretty much. Final category, the infamous fruit, herb, and vegetable category, which is a very catch-all category. Two winners in that. Second place went to the Last Raft Raspberry Wheat from Boom City Brewing up in Williamsport. And first place was Cool Water Coffee Kolsch. We mentioned a Coffee Kolsch earlier. Allegheny City Brewing in Pittsburgh. So lots of winners, lots of friends of the show. You guys got 2 medals there at McCall. Very cool.
Very respectable show.
So yeah, we were talking a little earlier. It's like the third or fourth year they've been doing this. Seems to get a little bigger, a little more attention every year. Obviously, last year was different in a lot of ways for a lot of things, but cool to see that. Cool to see new breweries getting recognized, and cool to see the old standby still putting out good stuff.
Yeah,
so,
that was painful. Let's get to the interview.
Yeah,
please.
right.
I promise I know how to read and talk. But yes, we have a lot to discuss in the world of McCall Collective Brewing. Now, you guys are relatively new on the beer scene, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, we opened on August 29th of this year.
So that kind of goes into a question. Well, it's sort of twofold. One is usually like, how's it been so far? But I'm going to also throw in the sub question of, what was it like opening smack dab in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. We actually got approval from the city on Friday. We closed on our loan on Monday, and then everything shut down Monday night. So just as we were about to start construction on the tap room and rock and roll, we were instantly put on a halt. So that construction ban was in place until probably around like May 4th, I think they lifted it. So that following next week, we were able to start construction. And luckily, our brewing equipment was getting manufactured in Wisconsin, and they also manufacture dairy equipment, so they were deemed essential. So they got to continue working on our brewing equipment. So we didn't really have delays there. Just kind of some electrical work didn't get to us in time. So that held us up a bit. But like a couple of weeks and construction and everything like that, you know, it's always going to be delayed. So best case, we were hoping to open end of May, beginning of June. But it, you know, more realistically, we thought later. So, you know, end of August was definitely more of a delay. But, you know, we opened at 25% capacity, and our bright side there was we really got to connect with all the customers that came in instead of, you know, having a tap room full of 70 some people and everybody trying to get to order beer, and, you know, it kind of not being the best experience, just you got to taste the beer. You know, you had to sit down. So we had that, you made a reservation, so you got a table. And we got to really connect with all the customers coming in and talk to them about us and talk to them about Matt's brewing history and why we did this. And I think, you know, it gave us regulars from day one. You know, people have been back every week. It's really cool. And I will say that, you know, we got to experience that with 25% and then, you know, 50% capacity. And even at that point, the tables are all spaced apart, so we're not even really at 50%. But, you know, we've enjoyed being able to provide a great experience with great food and great beer and a great atmosphere. And, you know, we're happy about that part, so we'll take it.
I like that you're looking at it from the perspective of, like, you got to connect with the customers from day one, because I would not have thought of that aspect of it. I'm glad you got to do it, glad you got to live it and make those regulars. Because I know in this weird climate that we're in, the breweries that I've gone to, it has been kind of parsed down. There has been a little more time to talk to people, and it helps that, like, yeah, I know a lot of people in the beer industry here in Philly, but it's still nice to see, like, you know, owners that are serving the beer and trying to talk to people and make sure everything's okay, like getting on the front lines and trying to make that same connection. So I'm really glad you guys got to do that from day one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you got to talk to people about why you wanted to open this brewery. Why did you want to open this brewery?
So, you know, it kind of all just happened. So my husband, Chris, and I have always wanted our own business. We've been, you know, in business management for our, you know, adult careers. And, you know, while we were running, you know, different retails and stores and things like that, and online retailers and stuff, Matt was, you know, doing home brewing and then joining Sam Adams, and then, you know, really getting good at making beer and getting the experience of a head brewer. And so I remember, you know, Matt made a comment and he was like, remember 2 years ago? And I asked you guys if you wanted to open a brewery and you said no. He was like, it's a good thing we didn't do that, because he went and learned a lot at Coney Island about how to actually, you know, brew on commercial equipment and, you know, keep up with demands on that part. And so, you know, it just kind of became right place, right time, where, you know, Matt was ready to, you know, join, you know, a family side of brewing, and we were ready to take the leap as owners. And I don't know, it kind of always seemed to be working towards us doing a brewery together, between just going to breweries, talking about it, and then literally having a fantastic brewer in the family. So, you know, it kind of just, we made it come to fruition. And Chris is a go-getter, where I'm a little bit more timid and cautious. And he, really does a good job of pushing us to kind of reach our limits and think outside the box and, go after dreams. So, it worked out well for all of us.
Very cool. That's I like that you had mentioned how Matt had said it was good that you didn't open the brewery back when he first brought the idea up, because then you went and got the commercial experience. Because I think all of us in the beer world have come across places that you're like, they rushed to open a little too fast, or it was a home brewer who wasn't quite ready to go commercial. And so it's always refreshing to hear people who acknowledge that process of going from like being, even if you're an amazing home brewer, making the leap to commercial production. It's something you shouldn't probably dive into head first, and you should get experience somewhere else first. So it's cool that worked out. It's cool that you got, family members who can tackle all the different aspects of the business.
And Sam Adams, I can understand, because that's right there in Briningsville. Yeah. But what made you make the jump to Coney Island? That's a further commute, I would say.
Yeah. So long story, short story long, I should say. Prior to going to Coney Island, I did a stint at Angry Orchard's Innovation Cider House, which is up in Walden, New York, right near Poughkeepsie. And that's kind of where I really learned, the larger scale stuff. It's not brewing, it was cider making, but, using bigger pumps, cleaning bigger tanks, all that kind of stuff. As compared to homebrew level is where I really kind of learned that stuff. And then about a year after I was at the Orchard, there was a job posting, since Coney Island is part of Boston Beer Company. I was just checking job boards and stuff to see if there's any openings, outside of a ship brewer that I would be interested in. Saw a head brewer role in Coney Island, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to get this. I don't have near enough experience, but, I applied for it, and, me and my former boss just really hit it off, and he had a lot of faith that, regardless of not having quite as much experience as he would have wanted, he saw my passion and kind of knew that I was a bit of a go-getter, and he took a chance on me. So my wife and I moved to Brooklyn in 2017, and we just moved home in January, as Caitlin said. So that's kind of how it all went down.
And as Wayne mentioned about being family owned, there's two things that immediately pop up when you go on your website. The fact that you guys are 100% family owned, and you are also fully female owned, and the first brewery in Allentown to be female owned. Now, was that something that was important to you? Caitlin, did you pull the reins and be like, I want to be the owner of this operation? Like, how did that come about? And do you plan to continue to be 100% family owned and operated moving forward also?
Yeah, so I think it was a team decision. When we were moving forward and we signed the lease on our location, we knew we had to, readjust how we were working things in life. So I left my full-time job, and my husband continued his, so that, we still had that income and kind of balance between new and actually having income. And so, and a lot of things. So I was going to be the one there on a daily basis, kind of running the operation and making sure, we're staffed and the tap room's going accordingly. And it kind of then just made sense that I would be the owner. I think we were really excited to be able to say female owned. We like to support everybody of all kinds and all different things. And being able to say female owned was just something cool that we were excited to differentiate ourselves. But I would say it was more of kind of a group decision, and it just made sense.
Yeah, it was definitely a group decision. And there's a stigma around breweries that, you have to have a beard and a beer belly to own a brewery. So kind of being in a position for us to kind of set ourselves apart in that way. I can't grow facial hair, so that didn't help us any. But in all seriousness, we wanted to focus.
Anybody can grow that.
Yeah, right. You'd be surprised. You didn't see me 4 years ago. I couldn't put on weight for the life of me, but
wow.
It's amazing what you can do when you're a head brewer. But yeah, no, honestly, it was just it was very important for us to show that we were committed to like Caitlin said, being open to anybody. So.
Yeah, and I think you also said, do we plan to be 100% family owned. And I mean, for sure, even, going down to our artists and our marketing, those people are like family. And, we all have our part of it. And, we're really proud that anyone we bring onto the team, we either have known or instantly becomes a part of our family, a part of our collective. Spoiler, that's why we're McCall Collective.
One of the other sort of pillars of your kind of philosophy as a brand and a company is giving back to the community. I know. Oh, somebody's chiming in. That's Tucker.
Hi, Tucker.
Good boy. You're a good boy. I don't care what they say. One of the things you guys are obviously very proud of it and should be is your work with like local charities and stuff like that in the local community. You want to talk a little bit about what motivated you to get involved in giving back and talk a little bit about the charities that you've supported?
So giving back is something that I'm super passionate about. I actually worked for a nonprofit, the Muscular Dystrophy Association, for a bit, doing campaigns and fundraising and putting on events for that. And, before that, I also was doing radio sales, which is a good way to get involved in the community. And we would always try to do stuff for different nonprofits and things like that. So it kind of started my path on the Give Back series, met a bunch of people who were part of it. So, the very first beer we did was called to 3 local nonprofits that we chose to partner with that we believe were affected by COVID. So one was Turning Point of the Lehigh Valley for domestic abuse. The other one was the local YMCA in Allentown that was doing a Feed the Children program. And then the third one was Nominee Mental Health, the Lehigh Valley branch of that one. So we kind of split it up between the different aspects. And, every week I wrote 3 different checks because when you purchased the beer, you got to choose which charity it was going to. So every week they literally got a check for cash that was, helping them. And we still now to this day have collective contributions. And anytime you purchase that beer, we always give percents to different charities and different organizations. We'd rotate it a little bit more, but we recently had canned it again. So we had 4-packs available and $5 of every 4-pack went to the charities. And this time I split it up between the 3 evenly because it was pretty even by the end of the campaign. So, if you look at our numbers, we did over $9,000 in charity, and that is since May of 2020, during a pandemic, being brand new. And that doesn't even count all the gift cards and merch we do for all the different auctions people have and need product for. So we'll always be very involved in giving back. It's just a matter of choosing how and in which way. And I'm excited as we grow to kind of make our stamp and really figure out, where we want to focus and how it goes.
You mentioned that those totals went back, if anyone caught that, to a month prior to when you were actually open. And I did want to mention that as a way to sort of, I guess, still have a business during COVID, even though it delayed. You guys were still brewing beer and canning and distributing beer as early as June of 2020.
That's correct. We brewed our collective contributions at a neighboring brewery, Hijinks. We canned it ourselves at our brewery. We got a filler, and we were selling the crowlers off of the front porch.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go inside.
I think that's a really creative solution to get your beer into people's hands, even though you couldn't physically let them into your location yet. That was a great idea.
Yeah, we were really excited to let people try our product. And, we didn't want to really, enter the beer market. We weren't trying to take business from other breweries trying to make it during the shutdown. And we wanted to give back, everything, it still is so crazy, but especially in the beginning with COVID, it was, just unnerving. So we actually, it was pretty much Chris's idea that we brew beer and, we just use it to raise money for charity. So it was cool.
Just want that on record that the finance guy, I thought it was a good idea to give all the money away from our first beer.
Understandable.
Well, it appears to have worked. You're still around. Yeah. That's very cool. One thing I wanted to say I thought was really cool was you had mentioned about customers being able to choose the charity with the initial run, which I think is a pretty neat little extra added bonus there where you can actually pick where it's going. I mean,
yeah. So that kind of, I mean, real quick, that kind of stemmed from when we were deciding what charities to go to. Me, Chris, and Caitlin kind of each chose which ones we thought would be best benefited by it. So we figured if we got to choose, the charities that people got to choose from, they might as well get a choice to choose what is important to them as well.
Right. Very cool.
I really like that it was, what do you say, $5 from each 4-pack?
Well, so that the first campaign was 100% of proceeds, so it was basically all of the money from that one.
Right.
But then when we brewed it recently, in the fall, it was $5 of every 4-pack, which is the campaign we just ran through November and December.
Yeah, I think that's great because even most places that would do it otherwise are like $1 from each 4-pack. So the fact that you're willing to do 5 per 4-pack says a lot about your commitment.
Well, their
to
finance guy was 100%.
Well,
of
yeah,
everything
exactly. Yeah, but I mean, the fact that even now you're still able to do the $5 and willing to do it says a lot. I mean, that's huge for your character, what it says about your brand and your brewery.
I think something that's really big too is it's actually like money we're handing these people. And I know from a fundraising standpoint, people will try to bargain or help you out with different stuff, or, you can run different, drop off donations and stuff like that. But, getting a check of physical like dollars, it's just really important. And I know for the YMCA, it's crazy. They did in, I think it was like 4 months, like almost 400,000 meals.
Oh, wow.
Like this, and that was just Allentown. Like the numbers were actually, makes your stomach turn based on a recap. And it was unsettling. I think it was like 70,000 meals a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I remember when I talked to the one of the people on the phone, she was literally answering my phone calls, sending me the emails, running the event, and cooking all the food for the families.
Wow.
It was like her and 2 other people making 70,000 meals a month. So, we were happy to be able to contribute.
Help, yeah. Yeah, it's really great to see, the craft beer industry has always been super connected to the communities that they're in and more than willing to be generous and give back. And, last year showed us the power of like, it makes you feel good all the time. But like we've gone through things now where like people need this help right now, and people in the service industry, and charities and nonprofits like you're talking about. And it's been really cool to see all the breweries that are stepping up and doing charity beers, doing collaborations, reaching out to the community, working with charities. And it's just always really refreshing I just love hearing every story from a brewery, like how you helped the charity, where it came from, what they're doing, and how you were able to contribute. It's really cool.
Right. Yeah. I always say if you get in the business of opening a brewery to make a quick buck, and you're not in it for the right reasons. So craft beer is not only about community between you and your drinkers, but also other breweries and stuff like that. It's just it's a really great thing. And we're glad to be a part of it.
Yeah. And to that point, I think there at least was a perception in the outside of the beer world, like craft beer is a hot new thing. Everybody's opening breweries. Oh, I'm going to invest this money and open a brewery and turn around and make a quick buck. And that's not the case. And I feel like breweries and restaurants, like these are industries that not only do people not get into if they're not passionate, but if they do get into it and they're not passionate, they don't last long.
It's a whole different vibe, a different feel.
Yeah.
You can kind of separate it as a person. Breweries have a vibe to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to be. It's not even that like you have to be passionate to be a good brewery. You have to be passionate to be a brewery that's not closed. Like, like you really do. It's not an industry that you can just jump into to make a buck. Like it is a type of industry you have to care about what you're doing. And we can gush about how great we are for the rest of the night. But. Jeez.
So I have a dumb moment to admit.
Uh-oh. Did you get the name of the show?
So I opened the Heady Mercury, which I am enjoying very much. It's quite delicious. I forgot how much I enjoy Galaxy hops, which, of course, as Matt mentioned earlier in the show, is part of their first beer in the One Hop Wonder series, which is a single hop series of beers. And I didn't realize it until I read the Untapped description that says, floating around in ecstasy, this single hop Galaxy IPA hails from the closest planet. I'm like, oh, it's Freddie Mercury's face on Mercury. I I assumed it was like the moon. I didn't even like think twice about it. I'm like,
Well, moon's also not a
I
planet.
feel really freaking stupid right now. So I don't know if anyone was like in the corner of their eye saw my face as you guys were having that conversation, but I totally got lost. I totally missed on your part of your conversation because I just had this complete dumb moment. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh.
it was Kaiser Sose the whole time.
You could say that it's Freddie Mercury's head on Mercury. Heady Mercury.
Yes, exactly. It all makes sense now. But this is quite delightful, and I'm glad that that single hop beers are kind of becoming cool again, because a bunch of years ago, the single hop, single malt smash beers, single malt, single hop, the smash beers more than a few years ago. That was probably like 6-7 years ago. They were kind of all the rage, and like everyone was doing them, and then that kind of like went away because, and in a really cool way, brewers are discovering how different hops can be combined and create some really unique flavors and aromas. But I like that some breweries are going back to respecting what one single hop can do for a beer like this. And first of all, I love that it's Heady Mercury. Now that I get all those references, and I love that you chose Galaxy as the hop.
So many layers.
It's punny without being a dad joke.
Well, that's what people say. I'm a good brewer, but I'm a better punny person.
Well done with this one. It's nice. And
a skill that will actually get you surprisingly far in the beer industry.
I know, it's crazy.
I 100% agree. I wanted this beer because it had Freddie Mercury's face on it. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I can say that my taste in beers have matured and I don't fall for these gimmicks, but sometimes I fall for the gimmicks, and this time it was worth it. So you did mention, again, the next one in this series is coming up soon. Do you want to mention that one again?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll even give you a little spoiler alert here. The next one's going to be Nelson Sauvin, single hop. I'm not going to tell you the name. I don't want to ruin it, but I'm sure you can do some guessing. But we're also going to be.
She's not that good at puns. She won't.
Willie Nelson.
Well, there you go. You nailed it.
Yes. That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
We're getting a sneak peek at the label art.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So that one's fermenting currently. We brewed that on Thursday, so it'll be ready in about a week and a half. But we're also going to be releasing the same weekend that we released that beer, a farmhouse ale with Nelson Sauvin hops as well, to kind of showcase how hops can, be different in different styles. And I'm super excited about that.
That's such a cool idea.
Yeah. Farmhouse ales are probably top 3 favorite styles for me, and then Nelson Sauvin's my favorite hop of all time. So I'm very excited about that beer. I think it's going to be pretty cool. But anyway, so keep your eye out for that.
I love that. I mean, you think about tasting this, I've had a flight of the same beer with like different yeasts, or like the same base beer with different hops, but to have the same hop featured in 2 different beer styles, it would be a really cool experience. I hope that's something that you're inspired to do again moving forward. We'll
see.
That's pretty awesome.
I don't even know what I'm doing next. So how's it go?
That's how it
Fair
should
enough.
be. Yeah, it's really cool and I don't know how much this extends into like the general beer drinking public, but I know for, people who are a little more beer geeky like us, being able to have like Steph had said, the same beer with different yeast, or the same base with different hops or different hopping techniques. But I have never heard of like doing like a side by side of the same hops in a different style. So that is a pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of happened organically. It wasn't really planned.
Right.
I just had Nelson hops, and I was like, do 2 different beers with it. But Nelson's especially one of those hops that, like, if you put it in an IPA with heavy doses, it's super fruit forward with mango and pineapple and all those kind of cool Australian things. But if you use it kind of, on the lighter side in a farmhouse ale with some malt complexities in there, it really kind of turns into that white winey type of grape kind of flavor. So, and I like them both equally. I like the fruity side. I like the winey side, but it will be pretty cool to showcase.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when you run out of musician puns?
See, don't worry about that.
The list is long.
I was going to say, you already have a list, don't you?
Yeah, we have at least 18 or 19.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think, though, the problem won't be not running out of possible puns. The problem will be running out of puns that no one else has used yet.
You're right. And it gets down to the point where you start doing hop puns that, aren't really suited for a single hop IPA. So that's one of the other issues we're running into, but we'll figure that out when we get there.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what else is on your list.
Yeah, that'd be cool. As a side note, I just wanted to mention Dan and I have cracked open another beer just so our listeners can keep score at home. This is the last, I think, of our Shy Bear beers, unless there's one Heineken in the back of the fridge.
I think this might be last.
But I think it is. This is the, speaking of musical references, Wind Cries Mary, but Merry. This is called, it is a plum sour ale. It's pretty big, too. It's like 7.5%.
I don't get the reference.
The Wind Cries Mary. Jimi Hendrix? Never mind. It's fine. Just drink the beer.
Jimmy Hoot? No, I'm kidding.
Just drink the beer. It's very good.
So we just talked about drinking beers side by side, and you guys gave us Lehigh IPA, which I assume is kind of like your flagship IPA, if that were still a cool thing. And then Little Lehigh.
So it would be flagship.
It's the award-winning flagship. That's very important.
Okay, so that makes it cool, right? Not the beer, I mean calling it flagship. Because sometimes if you use the word flagship, people roll their eyes at you. Would these two beers be worth drinking side by side? I assume since one is Lehigh and one is Little Lehigh, are they the same
that's
base recipe?
Pretty much how I designed it. So, Lehigh was, I think, the first recipe I ever made for our brewery, well before we even had brewing equipment and things. And it kind of just hit me. Caitlin and Chris had said probably 6 months before we opened that they wanted a good session IPA. And I just kind of got the idea like, hey, we're going to use the same exact recipe. We'll just cut it basically in half from the malt perspective, and but leave the hopping rates untouched. So Little Lehigh gets as much dry hop added to it as Lehigh does. I think I might like Little Lehigh better than Lehigh, honestly, and I'm not usually a huge session IPA drinker, but I think it just it has a lot more subtlety and nuance to it than the maltier, bigger version does.
I will say that Little Lehigh to me is more impressive than Lehigh. I probably like Lehigh better, although it's really tough, mood depending, I'll say. But when you taste Little Lehigh and you read it's 4.5%, you're kind of like blown away by it.
Wow. Yeah.
I have to say the hop aroma in both is both pleasant and equally strong in both, because you often assume a session IPA is not going to have as much aroma, it's not going to have as much flavor. Really, the only thing aroma-wise that sets them apart is Lehigh, as you would expect, has the malt. I don't want to call it a malt backbone, but the malt is definitely obvious, probably because I'm smelling them side by side. So there is that subtle bit of sweetness coming through from the malts.
Yeah, it definitely smells juicier, to use a catchword. And that's, just like you said, it's due to the added alcohol and the added malt.
See, I was a little jealous that Steph had your beer before, and we didn't. Now I'm very jealous because, like I said, I love these side-by-side I love doing these side-by-side comparisons.
At the same time, I find it very interesting to watch Steph's reaction as she's going. Because normally when we do this, like as a group, I'm concentrating on the differences.
We're doing our own thing.
But it's kind of weird to watch somebody analyze it, but it's also kind of cool to see the thought process.
I actually get to watch Steph do the podcast, and I think I'll have some notes after the show. But
I won't read them. They both taste really well, and I feel like I'm getting a taste for hoppy beers again. I don't really understand what's happening, because usually I'm like, we're drinking IPAs, but I've really enjoyed these IPAs, just like when we had Brew Daddies last episode. I don't know what you guys are doing up there in Lehigh Valley, but apparently you're making good IPAs. But
this isn't a pun. It's the water.
I should say probably the water.
All right, it was a pun. Sorry.
No, but it's also legit.
Yeah.
But drinking them side by side, Caitlin, I see what you're saying. They're both good beers, but the session, it's really impressive just to see how it can stand up to a 7% IPA and still be satisfying, and it has a great viscosity, and the flavor is just. And I actually think I do like the. First of all, I like it because it's only 4.5%, and I'm on this I really want brewers to keep brewing session IPAs because I like to drink a lot of beer and I don't want to be hungover in the morning. But I think it's brighter. I think, and probably because the malt bill has been cut down so much, it just allows the hops to shine even more. And I love that you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna put the same hops in the same amount. I think that was really brilliant. But
finance guy didn't really care for that, but
fair enough.
I will say I'm kind of jealous and wish I had a little Lehigh right now.
Right?
No, I'm
telling you guys.
You have to get both of these beers. And to our listeners, I mean, obviously you want to go to McCall's and make a reservation or go get curbside or pickup or whatever you want to do. But I would highly recommend I assume you guys, are you doing flights?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to get these. If you're going to have one, definitely get the other, because it's really fun to drink them together. And a testament to you, Matt, as a brewer. I mean, doing something like this just shows your abilities. And yeah, I'm really enjoying both of these beers.
You know, as a guy who loves to drink, I don't particularly love session IPAs just because I feel like they're usually lacking, whether not only in body but flavor. It's usually just kind of like it's almost like a hop seltzer. And I wanted to do everything in my power to make that not the case with this one. Because like you said, I can't drink 3 or 4 7% beers in a row. So having that, and not feel like you're drinking a 4% beer is nice.
Do you feel that since this whole pandemic bullshit has been going on, like one thing we've talked to a lot of brewers about is because beer isn't going out the door, they're able to make more lagers, which I love because lagers are my favorite, and they're able to brew more styles that they want to brew because they have the tank space. But it's also making me think, do you think that perhaps, and I think you could answer this question because especially working at Coney Island, do you think there's less pressure? Do you feel less pressure to just get a beer brewed and fermented and get it on the taps because people want it, especially an IPA, because people want them under attenuated and super sweet and probably from a brewer's perspective, sometimes sloppily made, but maybe perhaps because beer as a whole in the industry right now isn't going as fast? Do you feel like you can take the time to maybe work on a recipe a little more or caress it a little more during fermentation? I don't know. Do you think that's affecting things?
I think that's probably definitely true elsewhere. Since we opened, I've been kind of going nonstop just because we have 12 tap lines. 14 tap lines. So I had to do a lot of work to get those full right away. So, one of the biggest feedback we got when we first opened was like, all your beers look exactly the same. And it's because we had Little Lehigh, a hoppy wheat beer, and 2 other IPAs. So like I had to bust out the IPAs first. And by the time I finally got around to doing a lager, I was already about 8 or 9 beers deep into brewing. So, but yeah, now that things have kind of settled in, and I guess my answer would be I always take time to make sure I get lagers on. And I think is really cool about our customer base, and maybe it's just because, like Caitlin said, we've had so many people become regulars and things like that. Some of our most popular beers are lagers. Our Martzen that we made for the October months was still one of our highest rated beers on Untapped. And when that kicked, people were like genuinely upset that it was gone. And our Schwartz beer, I think, is our highest rated beer, which is currently on tap. So
your Schwartz beer is divine. Now, Schwartz beers are one of my favorites, but was that the first one we opened? Right. I think that was the first McCall beer we had cracked open because I had gone up. I got to scout out the guests, of course. I had gone up a few weeks earlier and got some beer curbside, and that beer was divine. So please keep making that.
I would like to point out, in the almost 8 years we've been doing this show, I don't think you have ever described a beer as divine, Steph.
Oh.
I want to know.
You do. You pay attention to my adjectives. I know this.
I want to know.
I'm sure you have a tally chart.
How many steps are there between divine and quite tasty?
We need the chart published.
That's Steph's catchphrase. It's quite tasty.
I've got a weird idea that just popped into my head, and maybe it's been done, maybe it hasn't been done. So you say that the Märzen was one of your highest rated beers. Is there a particular reason that tends to only be like? Can we get a Märzen that's like available in May?
Well, it's
just like an off-season kind of thing
because of
like,
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, but like I mean,
it's a fest,
but can,
Yes, so-
but I can't imagine it's off season as far as like, oh, ingredients are hard to get. Like, you know,
not like
strawberries
that,
are
but-
going to be out of season kind of deal. But like, is that a thing that like is that a thing you would entertain, or am
You
I just,
absolutely can.
I'm
Yeah,
an idiot?
I mean, so the cool thing about owning our own brewery as compared to when I worked for Coney Island is I can do whatever I want now. So that's pretty cool.
True, yeah.
With a beer like Better Call Fall was what we called our Martin.
I love that.
With a beer like that that was so popular, I don't see why it would be a bad thing to have it in the summer months.
Yeah.
And I think it would be kind of a cool, like almost Christmas in July type of deal. Oktoberfest in May. Well, actually, probably wouldn't be May because we got a Maibach coming out.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that takes precedent. Yeah.
But yeah, what I learned in Coney Island is it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. People like we in Coney Island, it would be 96 degrees outside and people are sweating and people are like, why don't you have any imperial stouts?
Yep.
And I'm like, who wants? Okay.
Yep. I mean,
so,
that's basically what I was going to say. Like, I'm the guy that would drink that kind of beer in the dead of July. Like,
120 degrees out in the sweltering mid-August.
Well, we did
Give me your finest barley wine,
We
please.
did a beer week event with Evil Genius years ago, and I kept drinking. It was like the end of May, and it was 95 degrees, even for May, unseasonably warm. I'm like, yep, I'll take the porter. I'll take the porter.
What
I'll
event
take the
was that,
porter. Give me the stout.
The scavenger hunt?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just Purple Monkey Dishwasher all fucking night, and it was 95
Well, that used to be
degrees
the
out.
only beer you drank.
Well, that's true. That's not entirely true, but yeah, like as a beer drinker, I think it'd be cool to see it, especially if you play it up as like a Christmas in July kind of thing, like you said. I think that would be a perfect angle for it.
Right.
It's so funny that you guys asked Matt if, he was now brewing lagers because he found there was more time to brew them and, you have the tank space, and it was never a question or debate. Matt was brewing lagers no matter what we had to say.
So-
and even you hear him now, he's like, no, I do what I want. Okay, well, like, bring it in a little bit for us.
So Chris, my brother, Caitlin's husband, the finance guy that we discussed multiple times tonight, was basically like, oh, cool, yeah, brew lager. And I was like, oh, he's like, when's that going to be ready? And I was like, about 6 weeks. And he's like, what? No, we need beer now. And I was like, well, listen. But he's one of the biggest fans of the lagers too. So he's come to appreciate the process. Brewing a Czech Pilsner next week, by the way.
Oh,
Yes!
nice.
Very cool.
Man.
Oh,
cool.
thank God you guys are only an hour away. I just love like all these new spots just popping up in Allentown, and as I've mentioned many times on the show before, there was a time when I could say I've been to every brewery in Pennsylvania, and now I don't even know about every brewery in Pennsylvania because of how many that have opened. And especially right now, since it's hard to go and just brewery hop with the regulations and the fact that we have to eat everywhere now, so I usually just check out the ones that people tell me about, because I figure if someone tells me about a place, it's got to be good. So it's just, I love now going up to Allentown and hitting Brew Daddies, and then McCall, and of course Bonn. We're always going to Bonn, and all these really great breweries that we've grown to love, of course. And new ones that we haven't even gotten to yet up there. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I think what's really cool is it's a good example of how small breweries really aren't competitors. I almost said their old name. Brew Daddies is a mile and a half down the road. Todd's what I would consider a good friend of mine. And then we have Bond Place 4 miles down the road the other way. So you could literally come to our spot and hit. Lost Tavern's not far away either, but you can hit up, or Hijinks is there too. Breweries within other, and it's awesome. And none of us are enemies by any means. We're all good friends. Sam even helped us open our brewery. Sat down and gave us everything he knew. So
Sam is literally one of the nicest guys on the planet.
I was just gonna say that.
Really?
I would actually venture to say like the recent boom of breweries opening up in that area probably has something to do with Sam at Bond Place, because he is so willing to work with new people and collaborate and help people open up. And I feel like having an established person come into an area like that. I mean, there was, Fegley's has been around forever, and you go a little further, you have Two Rivers up in Easton and everything. So like there's been other players in the game obviously for a long time, but just having that sort of magnetic personality pop onto the scene and establish themselves and then help so many other people. Like that's why you get like Phoenixville when all the breweries are opening up there. And you get, and eventually you get a place like Asheville. That's how that happens.
Yeah, Sam is definitely a champion for the beer industry in general. And going back to what we talked about before with community within the beer industry, it's just he is a shining example of that. So
yeah, I would imagine it's also like a tourist boom for the area too.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's crazy is like, we're kind of figuring out now that we use Open Table for the last month or two, how many people are coming from outside of the Lehigh Valley, and they're doing so because of breweries in PA sharing stuff, but mostly because they know, like I said before, that you can hit a bunch of breweries within, probably 3 hours. You can hit 6-7 breweries easily.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of influx from Jersey coming over, which is really cool.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Jersey's got a lot of great
I
breweries.
guess that's not terribly far from that area.
Oh,
No.
I wouldn't have thought
you
of
go
that.
through Easton,
yeah.
you're right there. Yeah.
speaking of Jersey, I wanted to mention this during the news segment.
Uh-oh.
The Referend,
Mhm.
which is the beer blendery located literally just over the border in New Jersey. Long time they have wanted to be a farm brewery, and they finally
I saw that.
Saw that.
picked a location. It's going to be in freaking Kutztown.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
I'm
cool.
so excited.
Oh, there. Yeah,
Looks like-
that would have been another
looks
good
like a
news
cool
story.
spot.
Yeah.
They have my favorite warning sign ever. When Dan Wayne and I were there, one of those yellow, like, caution, the floor is wet signs. They had one of those, and they had a sign taped on it, kind of warning you not to go beyond that sign because that's not where the public belongs. And it said, warning, crossing this sign or passing this sign or something will completely erase all of your untapped data.
I forgot about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So
I'm really excited that they're going to be not only in Pennsylvania, but super
right,
close to where
real
I am.
close to
So.
you,
yeah, that's so cool. So you mentioned you're using Open Table. So you're doing reservations. Is that the preferred method? Do you want people to make reservations before they come in, or like can they come in and get a table?
So it's definitely the preferred method. If we have a table, there's always flexibility minus like Friday and Saturdays.
Right,
and once you
right.
hit like 5:30 to like 7, you're probably not going to walk in and get a table. Unless for some reason there's some type of lull and we can squeeze you in. But it's nice, we can take a look and we know what to expect and who's coming in and, how busy it's going to be. And we can even say like, okay, I got this table. You got like an hour to get in and out. And the customer's like, cool, thanks for squeezing me in. And we'll get them beers, we'll get them food, and we'll get them out. So it's been working out well. I had a conversation with some of the staff members today about it. And if that was how we were going to continue, because when we, planned out the brewery, it was ordering from a kiosk. It was ordering your beer up at the bar. It was seating yourself. It was even, you would get a text message when your food was ready to go get it. And then all of a sudden it was like, you must be seated. So we're like, okay, here we go. We have servers, sit down. And, with 25% occupancy and even 50, we want to make sure when you come that you have a table. So, we talked about people coming from Jersey and up from Philly and all over. And you imagine driving, an hour and 15 minutes for me to be like, I have nothing for you, or you have to wait 2 hours. Where now, plan accordingly, book yourself a reservation, and I got a table waiting for you. So I think it really creates the better experience. Plus, we also didn't want people standing around waiting. We want people seated. We want, the amount of people inside to be a good level. And so just it creates some organization within something that could have been very chaotic. So we do recommend reservations, even if, it's a slow time. At least you got a table.
Yeah. Well, and I think everybody now is probably pretty used to the fact that, like, when you go to a restaurant or brewery, if you're going out to places like that right now, you're going to expect, like, occupancies are limited. Most places are reservation. Right. A lot of places are, here in Philly, tomorrow indoor dining is back.
As of recording.
But indoor dining went back into a ban for a while. So even right now in Philly, there is no indoor dining at any capacity.
And even that's only going to be at 25%.
And that'll be at 25%. Yeah. But I think everybody all across Pennsylvania, it's been pretty much that thing, so people know to expect that. And
one of the cool things is, we do have some people, that'll try to walk in when we're super busy and can't take them. And they're always super amicable about it.
Yeah.
They don't get angry, and they understand, I think, which is, something that the pandemic has kind of built into people. It's just, okay, yeah, I get it. You only have so many seats.
Yeah.
But tying back into that thing, there's also, people don't get as angry because there's also so many other good breweries around that they can go to. So
True.
So it's been really good. People are super respectable about it.
That's good.
But Caitlin, I love how you are sort of reflecting on your original business plan, because two things. I don't think that things are going to drastically change for quite a while, even once we're able to go back to 100% occupancy. And I think the consumer is going to have a different mindset. And honestly, I think from the consumer side, I think we become a little spoiled. The idea that we don't have to wait in a line, we don't have to fight for a seat. We can have beer brought out to our car or shipped to our house.
or to our front door, like ordering a pizza.
Yeah, I think that I really respect business owners, especially brewery owners, that are saying and acknowledging, you know what, some of these things are going to have to continue and stay in place to continue to make the experience enjoyable for the consumer. Because, while before, ordering at a kiosk and standing in a line and waiting and going to get my own food, like, that was fine. That's like how many breweries were. But, I don't know how easy it's going to be for the consumer to switch back to that sort of normalcy. So I really respect that you're thinking about that.
Yeah, we talk about that. Like, we don't know if we can ever go back. I mean, is this kind of our flow? And so we'll have to see. It's also funny because during the last shutdown we just had, we started delivery, and we wanted to make it very consumer friendly. So if you got your order in by 4 p.m. that day, we would still order it that night. And so we delivered on Friday and Saturday, and then like a Wednesday for like a midweek one. And, if we can get there, like, I would love to kind of keep some of that delivery, because like you said, consumers are spoiled with it. They're like, yeah, I'll take that. That's great. And, it's just like a benefit. So I would love for us to do a little bit more delivery. That was one of the things that, wasn't in our business plan, obviously, that just seems to be something cool for the customer. We actually had a lot of people buy it for gifts for people. So they would, go online, purchase it. They put in whoever they were sending it to his address. And then, we would go and drop it off, make sure everybody was 21 and stuff. But it was cool that that's how people were sending gifts. I was like, that's genius. I would love for someone to send me beer.
Random knock on your door and it's like a case of beer. Oh, okay.
Right? And these people had some people did know, but some people had no idea they were getting beer that night. It was cool.
I just wanted to note that we were taught as children not to take candy from strangers.
Yeah.
As adults, we're like, alcohol? Yes, please do.
Of course.
Yep.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know who you are, but I'll have it.
Sure.
Yeah, I've received some beer shipped to me as I think 3 different Christmas presents were beer that were shipped to my house. So yeah, I keep it coming. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, dare I suggest
is it coming
that
to
we should move on to that particular time of the episode where we get a little bit happy, a little bit fun, a little bit of time, somewhat of a game.
Cheers, Internet, and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games, the podcast trivia segment that is always a very good boy. Today on Beer Busters, we are joined by Caitlin and Matt from McCall Collective Brewing in Allentown, Pennsylvania. They will be facing off against my co-hosts, Dan and Steph, in a battle of wits in Happy Fun Time Games. And today, our Happy Fun Time game is Bad Beer Reviews.
Oh, boy.
You know it, you love it. After daring an expedition into the deepest recesses of the sprawling caverns of beer reviews on beeradvocate.com, I have returned with a handful of critiques penned by the most colorful wordsmiths I could find. So I'll present you snippets of beer reviews from Beer Advocate with certain words or phrases removed, and you have to guess from 2 options what the real words of the author were. As a disclaimer, I always say in this game, I've edited these reviews a little bit for clarity to fix punctuation errors and weirdness. Also, all of these opinions are just random people on the internet. It's not our opinions. A lot of these beers actually have a lot of really good reviews, but some people just like to write stupid stuff on the internet that's kind of funny, and I make a game out of it. So let's get on with it. We'll begin to my left with Dan. Our first review of the game is for Labatt Max Tropic Charge.
Oh, what now?
Yes, this is an 8% ABV malt liquor from Labatt Brewing Company up in Canada. Looks like they don't make this beer anymore, but they do make Max Black
Probably
Cherry.
for the best.
Yeah, probably for the best. They do make a Max Black Cherry, which is on their website if you look it up. They're both 8% ABV. They're malt liquors with fruit flavor added. So that's kind of the level we're playing at here. So when you're hearing this review, that's what this guy's talking about. So our first reviewer begins. It pours light green, short and sweet, no head. Looks like a Mountain Dew. The aroma reminds me of, is it rancid vegetable oil and orange soda, or stale Diet Coke mixed with ketchup?
I'm going to go A.
Dan is going with the vegetable oil and orange soda. Steph, what do you think?
Wait, what kind of beer was it again?
It is a malt liquor with tropical fruit flavor.
Tropical fruit flavor?
Yep.
Okay, I think I'll do A too. I'm trying to make sense of this.
Yeah,
but I don't think there's any point.
That's what I
in
did
that.
too, and I don't think it's going to pay off.
I mean, it might as well be a limerita. Where there's not a lot of nuance and depth in the
Wait,
flavors here.
Matt just got up. I feel like he's going to the fridge and be like, I got one.
I got one right here.
Just getting the formula for my baby. AKA looking at the internet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so Dan and Steph are both saying rancid vegetable oil and orange soda. Caitlin, do you agree, or do you think it's stale Diet Coke mixed with ketchup?
I agree with A.
All right, going with A. Everybody said A so far. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I feel like stale Diet Coke doesn't have a smell.
All right, everybody's saying A. Everybody is correct.
Hey!
A very good argument from Matt. Does not have a smell of diet soda. Yeah, I guess not. So I probably should have come up with something better for the fake option there. But no, the answer...
I thought it was great.
Yeah, the answer was rancid vegetable oil and orange soda. The reviewer describes the taste in a similar way to the way they described the smell, saying it has a weird wet bread and vegetable oil malt base with an artificial fruit juice character. Sounds very appealing. So everybody off to a great start. Everybody gets the first question correct. We're moving on to Steph for our next review of the game. Our next beer is Mountain Crest Classic Lager. It's a 5.5% adjunct lager from Minhas Microbrewery in Alberta, Canada. Staying to our neighbor in the north, their description of the beer reads as follows. This is a fine Canadian-style lager with a full-bodied and strong head. It is made in small batches using pure two-row barley, premium hops from the Pacific Northwest, deep well water, and our proprietary yeast. It is lagered for a minimum of 30 days, resulting in a clean, crisp, smooth-tasting beer. Paints a very nice picture, but our reviewer disagrees with that sentiment, stating their intent clearly.
Hold on. It's also a very generic description.
Oh, yeah, it's a very generic description, but it all sounds nice and rosy. But our reviewer begins this review by saying, I thought this brew was bad enough that I should warn people away from even messing with it. He goes on to say, the taste is astringent, sweet, and metallic, and the smell is reminiscent of, going with the smell again, is it iced tea and apple juice with a hint of bleach, or every Skittles flavor mixed together with cheap creamed corn?
Oh.
Ooh, see, this is harder now.
That's
Yeah, it
really
is.
hard.
Yep. They get harder and grosser as the game goes
Ew.
on. So, Steph, you're up. What do you think? Iced tea, apple juice, bleach, Skittles,
I
and
think
cream
I'm
corn.
going to go with Skittles and cream corn.
All right, Steph is going with the rainbow of flavors mixed with cream corn. Caitlin, what do you think?
Yes, I'm going to have to agree with Steph.
All right, agreeing with Steph. Matt?
I'm going to go with the bleach. Well, water can be chlorine-y.
All right. I like when brewers have like a very deep thought process as to why they're.
But that makes me feel confident because when they get way too into it, they're usually
I'm just
wrong.
trying to justify my... Please let me be.
All right, so we have Steph and Caitlin both went with the Skittles. Matt went with the iced tea and bleach. Dan?
I'm going to go iced tea and bleach also.
All right, so we've got a 50-50 split. And Steph and Caitlin are correct. It was the Skittles and cream corn. Yeah. Clarifying that sentiment, they continue, in other words, a non-specific artificial fruit flavor melange that is hard to pin down but easy to detest. Also, 79-cent canned cream corn.
Some people should just not write things on the internet.
Yeah, but if they didn't, I couldn't do this game.
Well,
This is gold.
touche.
All right,
This is gold.
moving on. Moving on to our next review of the game. Caitlin, you're going to be up to guess first on this one. Our next beer being reviewed is called Life is Good, which is a 5% ABV American IPA. Comes from Starry Eyed Brewing in Little Falls, Minnesota. There's not much info out there on this one. It was a limited seasonal release. They do describe it as a wet-hopped American IPA. I should also note, particularly this beer and many of the other beers from Starry Eyed Brewing do have a lot of positive reviews online. So for all appearances, they make really good beer. But at least this one guy was not happy with this one. So this is what he had to say. He said, "It smells like a bubbling bog, and not in a good way," which I don't know what the good way would be, but that's what he said.
Sorry.
He goes on. He goes on to say,
Sulfur.
"Yeah, right." So peaty. The aroma. Once again, we're talking about the aroma today. The aroma rockets past dank, past swamp gas, and straight into. Is it industrial grade compost or teenage boys moist gym socks?
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Teenage boys moist gym stock.
Going with the gym socks. Matt, what do you think?
What was the first one again?
The first one was industrial grade compost.
I'm gonna go gym socks too.
All right. Sticking with the gym socks. Dan, what do you think?
I will also say gym socks.
Oh, everybody's saying gym socks so far. Steph, agree or disagree?
Peer pressure.
You gonna go
Gym
with it?
socks.
All right.
Also, I'm really hoping you didn't come up with that.
Circle gets the square. I did not. Everyone is
Ooh.
correct. It was a teenage boy's moist gym socks. Apologies.
Why?
By the way, I'm glad you said socks. I was very nervous about what the next word was.
I very nearly took this question out of the game simply
You
because
were
it
one letter
referenced.
away from it being real weird.
Yeah, and the teenage boy reference, I just felt like it might not be appropriate, but I decided to include it anyway. They conclude their review by saying, 2 swallows, and I feel I'm risking permanent damage to my taste buds. Appallingly bad. Appallingly bad.
Who says 2 swallows? Why is it just not 2 sips? 2 sips.
2 sips, right? Thank you.
Listen,
2 swallows.
Listen,
Carrying a coconut.
take 2 to 3 hours one night and just go on beeradvocate.com and sort the reviews from low to high and just read.
God.
I mean, it'll make your evening.
I'll take your word for it.
So,
Can we
Sam's
get-
making an
hold on.
appearance there?
I think I want these read by like Samuel L. Jackson or something.
yeah, I know, right?
Yes, because
Can
we
we
can
make that
afford.
happen?
We
Yeah,
can totally
professional
afford that.
narrator. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get somebody like
For the narrator.
Yeah.
I hear Morgan Freeman's free.
yeah, or someone that can like do their voice to just read some of these. It would
Just
be
read
a
the reviews,
fabulous
yeah.
segment on our podcast.
Well, Dan's got a
Morgan
great
Freeman-ish
radio voice. I mean,
reads.
if Dan really like brings the sauce, he could do a pretty good.
Dan,
Let's
bring
do-
the sauce.
Let's do it on a night when I know how to talk.
And can't we should
Tonight's
do
not
it
that
like
night.
put really romantic like piano music in the background.
I
and
did
you
that
just
in one of our
read.
videos. I don't know if you
And
saw it.
it should just be you reading like one utterly ridiculous. So it's like a super quick, awkward segment, and then we just move
And
on.
then we just move on.
I could do that. I can
All
get
right.
behind that.
We'll put that on the back
I
burner.
think this sounds fantastic.
All right. Good production meeting, everyone.
Viewer opinion.
Yeah. All of our like business and production meetings happen in the middle of the podcast.
That's true.
That's how we make
We
decisions.
used to try to schedule meetings.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. So yeah, we have 2 more beers left in the game. So we are on to our penultimate beer of the game. And yes, that is my favorite word. That means, Matt, you are up to guess first. Our second to last beer here is Tooheys Red. It is a 4.5% European pale lager from Tooheys Brewing down under in Australia. The brewery description of the beer reads as follows. Red Bitter, which is, I guess is its full name, is a full-body bitter lager brewed from the finest natural ingredients. Also very generic stuff. The flavors of the finest Australian malt and hops produce a smooth, malty flavor with a tangy, bitter finish. But our reviewer proclaims unequivocally that there is nothing to commend about this beer. Not color, head, smell, flavor, or drinkability. Nothing. In fact, I reckon if you blank, it would taste better than this. Let's fill in that blank. Is it pissed in a glass after a good Belgian ale, or steeped wet leaves in cat urine? Which of these does this guy think would taste better than Two He's Red?
I'm going to go with the Belgian piss.
All right, Belgian piss. Matt is
I'm
going
gonna
with...
go with Belgian
I'm
piss.
going to go with Belgian piss.
Please
Dan.
isolate that.
Planning on it.
That'll be a sound clip.
I will also go with Belgian piss.
All right, Dan agreeing with Matt. Moving over to Steph. What do you think?
Belgian piss.
Everybody saying Belgian piss. Caitlin, agree or disagree?
You know what? I'm going to disagree, and I'm going to go with some cat urine.
All right, going with some cat urine. I appreciate your bravado, but you are incorrect.
Damn it.
It was, in
Yes.
fact, if you pissed in a glass after a good Belgian ale, it would taste better than Two He's Red, according to this reviewer. He goes on to say it brings back the memories, some of them good, but when it comes to the beer itself, I'm ashamed to admit that I ever drank it. I would also like to note that for whatever reason, there was not a single capital letter in the entire review on the website.
Just don't understand how that even happens.
Yeah, I mean, there were periods, there were
Not
commas,
either.
there was other punctuation, but yeah.
It was written by E.E. Cummings.
Yeah. Also, that review...
Maybe the shift key was broken.
It could have been. Also, I think that review is from like 2009. There's like years of review on this.
Just
website.
T9 texting that.
Yeah. It says Nokia. So this is, of course, the part of the game, because we have one question left, where I'm going to add up the scores, see who's in the lead, who's falling behind, so we can determine the order of operations for our last question. And Steph is running away with a perfect score, 4 out of 4 so far. But
Oh, no pressure.
nobody else here is much of a slouch either, because everyone else has 3 points so far.
Oh.
So this is a very competitive game.
That's because Dan was just copying my answers. But
Well, I will say that often in Happy Fun Time games, the strategy is agree with the brewer.
I know. I was trying to be different. I was hoping for the best.
That's often. It doesn't always work, but it's often the strategy. So we have one beer left. We've got a 3-way tie for second place. So the only thing we have to do is make Steph go last. So I'm going to start.
No, I go first.
Or all the thing we have.
You don't know how this works.
I was going to say, that sounds like an advantage.
The only thing we have to do is make sure that Steph goes first.
One of these days.
I mean, that's what I said. I don't know whether to. So yeah, Steph's going to go first, and then we're just going to go around the horn from there. So Steph, our last beer of the game is Carlton Cold. Now, any beer that has the word cold or ice in the title, generally not a good sign. So this is Carlton Cold. It's 4.9% adjunct lager by Carlton and United Breweries Limited, also in Australia. Again, from the brewery, they say this. Carlton Cold was launched in 1993 and enjoys a significant share of the packaged full-strength beer segment. Sounds like a
Full
sales meeting.
strength.
That's what they say.
4.9%.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they say. They say cold is produced with a cold filtration process, no surprise there, pioneered in Australia by Carlton and United Breweries, and is also, this is impressive, the first beer in Australia to be packaged in clear glass, because that's a good idea, and the only beer packaged in unbreakable PET bottles.
Oh, no.
Good.
When your beer is terrible, sell the packaging. That's basically what they're saying. It's horrible, but it's in neat bottles. So that's the beer we're talking about. But our reviewer has some grievances, so let's hear what they are. They say, the front palate is virtually non-existent, with maybe some light granules of Instamalt dissolved in water. Yeah. Bitterness kicks in midway, all metallic and alkaline with that battery acid component. And the smell has...
Yeah, that's where it's going to be bad. Clear glass.
Is it a character not unlike steel dissolving in acid, or all the bouquet of a chemical weapons plant?
Oh, wow.
You're proud of yourself for your choices, aren't you?
I also almost just knocked my glass off the table, so I jumped for a second. I was like, whoa.
Can you read them one more time?
I will. Your options are, the smell has a character not unlike steel dissolving in acid, or all the bouquet of a chemical weapons plant.
I'm going to go with A.
Steph is going with A. Caitlin, what do you think?
I go with A.
Also going with
What
A.
kind of strategy is that?
I don't think
She sounded very dejected about it, too. It's like, I'll
Dan's
go
going to follow me,
I'll
but I'm going
A.
to go with B.
Oh, all right. Matt goes with B. Finally, Dan.
I will have you know I was going to say it before you said it, but I'm also going B.
Going with B as well.
second place.
Agree
Come
with the
on.
brewer.
It sounds par for the course, Dan.
Dan decides to agree with the brewer this round. Does it pay off? Yes, it does.
Hey!
Because that
All
is,
right.
in fact, the correct answer. All the bouquet of a chemical weapons plant.
I'm okay with this outcome because I know what this means.
I know what this means as well. But yeah, so this guy, I had 2 Australian beers in this game, I think. I don't know. I was looking at a bunch of Australian beers, and this guy actually came up a bunch of times in reviews that were like gonna make the cut for the game. So he's got away with words. So after a very long and wordy review on this beer, he concludes with this gem. If, as Benjamin Franklin is reported to have said, beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy, then surely Carlton Cold is God's way of testing our faith. Which would be great.
It's hilarious.
Tied up in a nice little bow. Amazing way. End of review. Drop the mic. Awesome. Except he couldn't stop there and he kept going. So
no.
he continues and says, unlike Job, I will not simply endure this tribulation, but rather take advantage of another of God's useful inventions, the sinkhole, and return this manifestation of his bounty to the bowels from whence he excreted it.
Jeez.
Wow.
Okay.
I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger.
Felt very strongly about that.
Yeah, this guy has a way with words. I don't remember his username. I'm not going to say it on the podcast anyway, but like he writes a lot of reviews on Beer Advocate apparently in Australia.
And I predict some of his reviews will appear in future.
Yeah,
Happy
well,
Fun
because
Time games.
now I know what his profile picture looks like. So the next time I do this game, that pops up, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, it's you
we
again."
should have him on the show.
Eventually, he's gonna be on the podcast.
we
but
can't
he's
get
the one
Morgan
that-
Freeman, but
Maybe he's the one that reads the other ones, yeah.
Yeah, could be. He's gonna be our narrator. But that's the end of the game.
I mean, with vocabulary like that, he's got to have a good voice, right?
It's gotta. I don't know. We'll find out. But what we're gonna find out right now is who won the game, and we're gonna add up the scores real quick to see who's on top, who's on the bottom of the heap. And would you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? With 4 points each, we have, for the first time in a while, a German Sparkle Party.
I like German Sparkle Party.
A 3-way tie for first place. Dan, Steph, and Matt, all with 4 out of 5 points. Very well done.
Really like the differentiator should win.
I'm not going to lie. I wish there was like an Ellen's game of games to like shoot that Caitlin falls down.
I can just like pretend.
Yes. Well, hey, to everyone listening / watching on YouTube, if you want to see that happen, patreon.com/beerbusters podcast. That shit's not cheap. So thanks everyone for playing. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. If you're doing so, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Congratulations to our 3 winners. And Caitlin, you didn't do too bad. You only had 3 out of 4 points. But this is, of course, the part of the podcast where we shout out to our most generous. What did I say?
You said 3 out of 4, but it was
4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5.
Going once, going twice.
So this is the
We're
part
all
of the.
broken tonight.
I always forget how the game works. This is nothing unusual.
No, that's true. That's true.
But this is the part of the podcast where we shout out to our most generous patrons on Patreon, people who donate at the 2 highest tiers that you can. We would like to thank them very sincerely. But as a special note this time around, we have an apology to issue to I have an apology to issue. I take full responsibility to one Chris Mahoney, who actually became a patron of the podcast back in November. And we shouted him out on our Stolen Son episode. But for the 3 episodes after that, for some reason, he was left off the list. And I am so sorry about that. I do a lot of copying and pasting. I'm not going to lie. And that's probably what happened. So, Chris, I am so sorry. We are sending you a T-shirt. And you missed 3 episodes. So we are going to thank the following individuals, beginning with Chris Mahoney.
Socialism.
And then Chris Mahoney.
It better be a puppet.
And Chris Mahoney.
Delicious.
Thank you, Chris. We would also like to thank the following individuals. Dana.
Puff Puff Pass.
Puff Puff Pass. Sean Sullivan.
Technical yeasty problems.
PA Brew Review.
Yes. Hey,
I'm Batman.
Jesus. Topher Simmons.
Oops, I just sharded.
Poor Man's Brewing Company.
9.
Jill Chivers. What was that?
Even I forgot about that one.
It says Wayne Mouth Fart. That's what that is, apparently. Okay. Where was I? James Lamberg.
It's drugs.
Eric Dixon.
I'm driving me lorry and I got the trots.
Jen McDonald.
You are welcome.
Brian Mills.
Oh, that was the wrong knob.
Ron McDonald.
This is some thick ass wax.
At the one and only, that is no baloney, Joe Mansell.
I'm a rock solid 5, maybe 6.
Thank you, Joe, man. Thank you, Chris. Sorry again. You will forever be on the list from now until the end of the time. If you want to find out how you can get on this list as well, and I promise I will put you on it, go to patreon.com/beerbusters. Find out how you can get cool behind-the-scenes perks, like your name on the podcast, your name in the credits of the YouTube videos, and other
like
cool things.
the ability to see Caitlin go down a slide.
There you go. You also get last
The
call.
shoot, Steph.
A shoot.
It's a
A shoot.
Yeah.
It's a shoot.
Shoot.
That's very important. That's very important.
You guys could just have like a dunk tank delivered.
We should.
Oh, and that's the perfect game of games, like seat drop. We just put you on the dunk tank,
Yeah.
and then we drop you in there.
Matt, do you have a bucket lying
That
around?
would be awful.
You just start like sliming people. Like I can't
Bucket
do that on
challenge.
television. What was I saying? Oh, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us, do all that cool stuff. Leave a comment about anything you think would be good fodder for a future game. Weird beer names, beers with weird stuff in them, or crazy beer reviews that you've come across. Yeah, do all of that. But this is, of course, the part where we pay our bill.
Yeah, we got to settle up.
Pay that tab.
Say, Yvonne, remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today. You owe me $70 billion.
Hey guys, we want to tell you about Audible. Audible has audiobooks available for download, and you can listen to them on the go, in the car, while you're jogging, while you're drinking beer. You can find books like Brewing Up a Business, Adventures in Beer from the founder of Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, revised and updated. Find books like that and more at audibletrial.com/beerbusters. Once again, go to audibletrial.com/beerbusters. Get a free 30-day trial of Audible and download and keep one audiobook forever.
Roast Malone.
Oh, that's
I
a
gotta
good one to
remember
save
to
for last.
Stop the recording. Stop.
Oh, should I save it for last?
Oh, no, you can drink whatever you want.
You just will need to drink like a sip of water after it.
Yeah,
Fine.
you're gonna need a cleanse.
Oh.
All right. I
It's
also
just
have.
Cranberry dingers.
yeah, drink that.
Okay. Well, we drank the peach one on Wednesday because I had picked that up in a crowler last time we were up by you guys, and I really liked it. That was quite yummy. But I saw that this has what, rosemary in? Is that what it has?
Thyme, yeah.
Thyme. I freaking
And no
love thyme.
no lactose. So normally our Dinger series has a little bit of lactose in it. This one does not.
So I like cranberry better than peach. Our first one was a raspberry, and I haven't had raspberry in a while because peach was between, so I don't know which one out of cranberry and raspberry I like better.
I do love raspberry. I like chocolate and raspberry. I think that's like a classic combination for me.
Did you have Brew Daddy's raspberry banana bread pudding?
Yes, we did have that, and that was
good,
quite
right?
tasty.
Yeah,
I want
I
them to do a whole, instead of a beer dinner, a dessert dinner, and just pair their beers with all the chef's desserts.
Nice.
I feel like that would be amazing. All right. I assume we're still recording, even though he got up.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's still running.
Okay.
We're not recording video anymore, so if you want to pick your nose or something, that's fine. There you go.
Oh, when you first sip it, you definitely get the tartness and the aroma of the cranberries, but then you're like, wait, there's something else there. And I'm actually, because thyme is usually delicate, I think, compared to most herbs. Oh. That's lovely.
Ooh, lovely. So divine, lovely, quite tasty. Is that...
I'm expanding my adjectives, apparently. No, it's really nice. I think there's a lot of cranberry beers out right now, which, rightfully so. It's a good time for it. We've had some cranberry wheats, and I think we had another cranberry sour not that long ago. And after a while, they all start to kind of taste the same. It tastes like cranberry juice. and this you get that comforting cranberry flavor that you want, but the thyme is really smart. It adds another dimension that I really like, and I love thyme.
I was actually just a bit nervous about the thyme in it. I just didn't quite understand. And I remember I told someone, and they were like, well, did you tell Matt? And I was like, no. I was like, I'm not going to question Matt. Like, it's going to be great. And I tasted the beer, and I was like, this is fantastic.
I am not going to lie. I was a bit nervous about it myself. Not having a culinary background, I was like, yeah, I'm sure I could figure out how much time to put in. And then I was just basically thinking of like a soup. And I was like, how much would I put in like 3 gallons of soup? And then I was like, I'll just multiply that by like 30.
No, that's actually really smart.
And then I was standing there with like literally the biggest amount of time you can ever think of. And I'm like, this might be too much.
Did you at this point turn to a coworker and say, I've got too much time on my hands?
There's so many times.
Yeah. But our coworker, Evan, was there, and he's like, I think it'll be fine. He goes, you don't think it'll be fine? I said, I actually have no idea, but we're going to go for it. And I think it turned out pretty good.
Did you use fresh thyme?
Oh, yeah. We bought it from a local Syrian market, actually. And I think we got, it was 10 full bunches. They had to have been probably, I'd say, about an ounce a piece. So it was a lot of time.
Mom.
Good time. Great time.
It's quite delicious. I really like it. And now the Hidden Dingers is like the single hop series that you're doing. This is another series of beers that you'll continue to do, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So this was actually the whole idea behind this beer was the Iron Pigs play in Allentown, the Phillies minor league team, and we wanted to have a beer that was like specifically for there, and that was kind of where Hidden Dingers was born from. It was just going to be raspberry, and then we decided to kind of do other variations throughout the year, and it's kind of evolved into more than we thought it was going to be, but it's good.
And it's cool. The Iron Pig's color is like that like maroon color that the raspberry is. The cranberry is like a little more pink, but that one is definitely a good like magenta-ish maroon. And so we wanted people in the stadium to like see that color because we hadn't opened yet, and it was supposed to be out prior to us opening. And then, you see the red beer and kind of was like bringing you into then our place. So you had it at the stadium first and then come into our newly opened brewery, but kind of didn't pan out that way, but
didn't pandemic out that way.
Oh, hey.
He's proud of that pun.
That was a good one.
He says that there's not like dad jokes in there, but
they're borderline dad.
Some of them are starting to push, but it's all right.
By the way, I never claimed that. Someone else said bordering on dad jokes, and I said I got it down.
So what will the next iteration of Hidden Dingers have?
Well, it honestly depends on how fast we sell this one. We would like to try and sneak in a blackberry lime version, but with baseball season potentially starting again in the spring, we're going to go back to the raspberry. So if we can fit another one in there before the raspberry, we will. But blackberry lime is my hope for the next one.
Then
blackberry lime with a hint of mint.
No hint of mint.
Steph is designing recipes.
Yeah, so the herbs I generally leave out. This one I just was excited because I used to make a cranberry thyme compote when I worked in restaurants that I really enjoyed.
Oh, nice.
So I thought it would pair well. But yeah, this is the only herbed version.
The only herbed version.
And to be quite honest with you, mint scares the shit out of me. One of those things that can easily turn into toothpaste real fast.
Yeah. You have to be careful with that. Yeah.
Well, which coworker told you that you had the perfect amount?
Our bar manager, Evan.
Well, just have Evan pick the amount of mint, and it will be perfect.
That's the official word on that, Steph.
Seems like Steph is pretty adamant.
Adamant.
Oh, damn it! I gave him that one. Oh shit!
I am very impressed. I am an unabashed fan of bad dad jokes.
Wayne, usually you're the king of puns.
I can't compete. That was
cannot.
Adamant.
I caught you on a bad day. We'll do it again.
He's the one having a bad day. You don't remember the name of the podcast.
It's contagious, apparently. Sorry about that.
I feel like there should be like a pun showdown here.
A pun down.
Welcome to the Punderdome.
Oh, jeez.
I concede. I mean, he's really good.
I lost my roast.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of puns, Steph, by my calculations, you have one beer left, right?
Well, actually, I have two, but I was saving this one for last call.
Okay.
Oh, the special one, yeah.
I do have a beer that I literally just lost for a moment.
I love that artwork. Oh my god,
right?
I love that artwork.
There is amazing.
She is incredible.
That's so cool.
She hand drew that, which is the most impressive part.
Oh wow!
She hand draws all of our art. That building that you saw that you commented on in the Crowler. So that was a hand drawing that we then put into the computer. That kind of got a little bit more like professionalized. But when you look on the ESB can you can see the sketch of it.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
that is in our logo. So
very cool.
Little full
circle. So for our listeners that can't see us right now, the ESB that she's referring to is the collaboration that they did with Bond, which I'm going to crack open and we can talk about during last call. So patreon.com/beerbusters if you want to check out that conversation. But the beer I lost that Matt encouraged me to save for last is Roast Malone. And there's the most amazing sketch of Post Malone. And I just noticed he has your logo in his watch on the
Yeah, isn't that cool? It's like a little like Michael with the MCBC.
Oh, and his coffee bean rings. Oh my gosh. The details are amazing. I love it. So yeah, this is what I'm drinking next. What are you guys pulling out?
And that is that is a coffee amber. Did we mention that?
Yeah.
Specifically?
So funny story about that one. So we were just talking about the time editions and how it was kind of a guess. Coffee is something I've worked with a lot and was not so much of a guess, but it was the first time working with the local place that we worked with called Backyard Beans. It's actually closer to you guys down in Quakertown or Lansdale. And their blend that I chose was a little bit stronger than I think I had anticipated. So the coffee is extremely prevalent. So it's more of a coffee beer with amber vibes to it, rather than the way I had intended, which was an amber beer with coffee vibes to it. But with all that being said, it is kind of built a cult following. People love it. Which is my dad, his joke is it's the only beer I've ever made that he can't drink. But the people that love it. So it's definitely either love it or hate it. If you like black coffee, you'll probably enjoy it.
What's fun about that one is so on Untapped, it's listed as a red ale. So when you serve a table and they go, I'll take the red ale, I have to go, do you like coffee? and then we have to backtrack from there because if you order it as Roast Malone, you know that you're ordering a coffee beer. But if you just scan down and see a red ale and you order that, it's not a red ale, it's an amber ale, but Untapped has it listed like that because of the limited choices. And you have to clarify to that particular customer that they're going to be drinking a very coffee flavored beer.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see the reaction and you having to talk them through the experience.
Steph, while you're drinking that, just know that that's whole bean coffee that we age it on, and it's only for 3 days.
Wow.
It's intense. People are like, oh, did you use like ground coffee or do you age it for like a month? And I'm like, no, it's 3 days on whole bean coffee.
Wow. And you put it right into the fermenter?
Yeah.
That's probably fun to clean.
Well, it's in a mesh bag.
Okay, smart.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
That's a brewer that has experience. He knows better.
Yeah. So much so that I knew I was going to be hanging stuff in the tank in bags. So I had our tank company sanitary weld hooks on the underside of the door.
That's so cool.
Hang bags from it and not have to fish them out.
Really smart idea. Dan, you're one of the things that I guess Wayne, the one of the things we love the most about coffee beers is that intense aroma you get as soon as you open the can. And this did not disappoint. And Dan, you were probably watching my face as I opened the can, but it's super good. And you described it perfectly. It is definitely a coffee beer. You get the coffee up front, which is, I mean, I love black coffee, and apparently I bullied Dan into drinking. Well, Wayne and I bullied Dan into drinking.
I've told
black
many people
coffee.
that. Yeah,
we know. Yeah,
mostly stuff.
I'm proud to have that title. That's fine, but but no, you can tell it's still resting on the amber ale. You know, the nuances of the amber ale, like that subtle spiciness and the almost like it's like a spicy maltiness that comes through the coffee, and it melds well. And again, like the Cinnabon, we don't often think of coffee and amber ale. Those two styles don't typically go together, but it works so well. And I don't know, I think it was a happy accident for you that the coffee was stronger than you expected, because it's hard to have the balls to go, like go big. I mean, you have a business and you want people to drink the beer, and there is the fear of fucking it up and people not liking it. But man, this is really tasty.
It's funny. We had to brew it again just because everybody loved it so much. And Matt had to brew it the same way because...
Yeah, Chris was like, "You gonna dial back the coffee this time?" I'm like, "I don't think I can."
Yeah.
People will literally come through my head.
Yeah.
But one cool little twist we do on it in the pumpkin spice season is what Evan, our bar manager, makes a syrup, like a pumpkin spice syrup that you can have added to the beer, which adds kind of a cool complexity to it.
Tastes like a pumpkin spice latte then.
It's very, awesome. Very good. I'm not one for adding sugary things to a delicious beer, but it does work pretty well.
Interesting.
So the question that I had, and I don't think that I ever really thought to ask this of brewers who make coffee beers, but do you build the beer recipe after you find the coffee that you like, or do you have a beer recipe in mind and you say, I need to find a coffee that fits this recipe?
So that's a great question. Depends on what kind of beer I'm making. So this was way back when I was a home brewer, but I made a white stout with Hallertau Blanc hops and like an Ethiopian coffee that was like more citrus forward. And that one I found the coffee first and was like, whoa, I need to use this in like a different kind of white stout. But most of the time, like I'll build the amber ale recipe first and be like, all right, I'm looking for, a coffee blend that has, a little bit of chocolate and a little bit of, stone fruit type of thing going on. But yeah, that's generally how it works.
That's cool. I always wonder too if it's like some fever dream that gets brewers involved in making like a coffee amber as opposed to like a coffee stout, the more like traditional way. Because I know whenever I've been thinking about stuff I'm gonna like make for dinner, it's always the craziest shit in the back of my mind. Like at 11:30 at night, I'm like, yeah, that might work, and then I cook it and it works fucking fine, and it's one of the best things I've ever made. So like part of me tries to translate that to the beer. Like when did you decide that you wanted it to be an amber ale that had the coffee in it?
I would say if I remember correctly, it was when I was looking at our kind of lineup of our first beers. I knew I wanted to make a coffee beer, and it was in the summer. And we didn't have a beer that was quite that color. So that's kind of where it started. I wanted an amber ale, and then the coffee thing just kind of fell into place because I was like, oh, Roast Malone, that would be a hilarious name for a beer. And I just, for whatever reason in my head, didn't picture it as a stout. So
hey, it works.
I think I think that reason you're searching for is that you are a talented brewer.
Yeah. You can say it. Admit it.
I like that one. Good job.
Coming from the two guys that haven't tasted my beer yet, I'll take it.
I trust Steph's opinion unequivocally.
Well, see, and the good thing about this is they will drink your beer on a future episode, so you guys will get double shout.
That's true. Because
Thanks, guys.
When it does come, well, probably the next episode.
Don't thank us. Thank the unnamed shipping service that you used.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what part of that conversation will make it on the podcast.
Literally none of it that name drops.
I will point out that Chris definitely got it shipped in plenty of time. So
I think it was not. Like, I know it arrived in Philly on the 8th. I think it was shipped on the second?
So-
I don't even know.
I was going to say this earlier, and then we decided not to mention which service was used. But I'm still, actually, I think it might be in the mailbox literally right now. I was waiting on a package that I ordered December 4th. I was told it shipped on the 17th. The label was apparently created on Christmas. So on the 17th, it said label created December 25th at 8 a.m. So like it was a future label. So finally, it finally ships. It gets to Philly on December 31st and then goes to fucking Kansas for 2 weeks.
Wow.
It was like a mile and a half from our house, and then it went 1,100 miles away.
That's weird.
What the hell?
Yeah,
we
that's
had a
weird.
beer that did that. It was like not as bad, but it was like in New York and then ended up in like Connecticut for like 3 weeks. We're like, okay.
Chris was telling me that we sent beer to New Hampshire, and it went all the way up to Rhode Island, and then it went to Missouri.
Yeah, like why?
Literally,
It's
like how
there.
does that happen?
It's more work to send it where they want to, like in the in between. Somebody had to scan it there. Somebody had to load it on a plane. The plane had to fly, and then somebody had to scan it there, keep it somewhere, and then put it back on a plane to go back to where it was supposed to be.
I'm pretty sure this particular service that we still uses horses and wagons to get to these places.
Well, I mean,
I
that's
wouldn't be
About the
surprised.
baby chicks?
baby chicks.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Oh, you can ship baby chicks via the U.S. Postal Service. And this year, they had issues with them all dying. Now they have to like reevaluate. But for years, literally
that would be a good idea.
since they were on horse and buggy, you can ship baby chicks, alive ones, through
Alive
the U.S. Postal Service.
Wow.
Wow,
I hope they were alive. Who orders dead chicks?
that's true. That's
You'd be
true.
surprised.
That's a valid point.
I mean, is there like a chicken equivalent of veal? I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Ugh.
Wow.
There's not a lot of meat there.
Oh.
Okay.
The look
right.
on Steph's
On
face.
that
Holy
note.
shit.
Did you know, actually, interesting fact about crazy shit being mailed? There was a time where there was no limitations on the size of things that you could mail, like back in like the early 20th century. And so like early car manufacturers would sell people cars and then like ship them through the mail. And then they said
For
you
real?
can't, they started restricting how big and how heavy a single package can be. So what they started doing is they would send the cars in parts and then you would build the car.
Oh, jeez.
And they still do this. They do this like kit car thing where they send you like yeah, they send you the entire car except like one vital component, and because you don't have that one component, it's not a street legal vehicle, so there's different regulations. So you get your whole car and then you go to AutoZone and get like a gasket, you know.
Wow.
And now you have a working car, but yeah, there's a lot of weird shit like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I know what to do when my lease is up.
I did
That's
also
way better than dead chicks.
Yeah.
yeah. That's very true. I did want to mention something. When you first mentioned Backyard Beans, I was like, I know that name. And not because but we actually remember Kegs and Eggs at the Batdorf.
Oh, yeah.
It was in 2015. We did it with Hopheads with Bart and them.
Yeah.
And
they were there.
They did an event at Kegs and
Oh,
Eggs, and they
really?
were at the stand right next to us. And we shot a little video and we interviewed him. So there's a speaking of youtube.com/beerbusters podcast, there's an interview with the guy from Backyard Beans from 2015 on our YouTube channel. So
And he served his coffee on nitro, and it was amazeballs.
that was the first nitro
Yeah,
cold
their
brew I think I've
coffee's
ever
very
had.
good.
Yeah. I verified it. I looked at that's what I was doing. I was looking it up on our website.
Yeah, I saw you looking something up on the website.
I forgot about
Oh, I
that.
like your hockey jersey.
Oh,
with
thanks.
the hop
Speaking
on it.
of Hopheads, yeah, this is a Hopheads design, hopheadsgear.com. Not that we
That's
get
really cool.
paid by them.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Hashtag not a sponsor, but I mean Bart.
I mean, Bart's a very talented designer. This one is special for me because Captain America is my favorite superhero. And,
The bottom one?
Oh, that's cool.
with the Flyers color. The Flyers are playing right now.
That's cool. I like that jersey.
Well, if anyone out there listening were to want to find more about McCall Collective, where should they go? Where can they find more about you?
So you can go to McCallCollectiveBrewing.com, and then you can book a table for reservation there. You can find us on Open Table. Our Instagram is McCall Co Beer, and on Facebook we're McCallCollective.com. We're also on Twitter, and I think we even have a LinkedIn too. So if you want to do the professional angle.
And we're looking into an OnlyFans.
Wayne, I thought you'd be excited they had a Twitter page.
Oh yeah, I hate when breweries don't have a Twitter because I can't tag them when we post the episode and it bothers me.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Oh, the apparently the code word for OnlyFans is to say I'm going to go do some accounting.
Is that really what? Really?
I've heard people say that.
Oh
yes.
my God.
There's a podcast
right.
I listened to where one of the people on it recently started an OnlyFans, and she was talking about like the code words.
Oh,
Ooh.
I was watching some sitcoms on NBC last night, and apparently Thursday night is when Law and Order is on. And last night's Law and Order was about like an OnlyFans content creator getting stalked, and like the guy breaking into her apartment while she's streaming.
That's scary.
Yeah,
Sounds
so
about right.
OnlyFans made it to Law and Order, so I guess that's like a sign of
It's
the
become
times.
mainstream.
Yeah, I guess it has. But obviously, yes, you listening to this right now, you should go to the aforementioned websites and social media handles to find out more. But most importantly, you should find your way to Allentown to get the beer.
Do that, yes.
Pick it up at curbside. Make a reservation to go there. Don't trust shipping services to get it to you at any point. But no, I'm looking forward to it, and thank you seriously, guys, for being willing to send that out. I'm really glad that we're gonna get it. We're gonna get to drink it on a future episode and give you even more of a shout out because it is very well deserved.
Awesome.
Well, unfortunately, I think this does bring us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. I got the name right this time. It is Beer Busters. Beer Busters. 8 fucking years later, you figure I'd know how to say it. Thank you so much, Caitlin and Matt, for being here. It's been a lot of fun with you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, of course.
Thank you so much for having us, guys.
Steph, did you bust open that ESV yet?
It's not last call yet.
Yeah,
I
the
don't
cool
know.
kids
we're
are
not
going
done
to
yet.
get to hear about that pretty
Yep.
shortly. Well, hey, I am Dan Baker. I am joined by my co-host and virologist.
What was that? Steph Heffner.
And the demented and fermented.
Mark Twain.
The fuck did I say? Legitimately, I don't know if I said
No
something
squids
wrong.
were harmed in the making of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
What did I
Squids-
say?
Squids weren't harmed, but I think Dan was.
I can't wait to go back and edit this.
You're having
Do you always say squids? Or does that rotate?
No, it's always squids.
Usually some version of squids.
It's always squids.
Baby chicks.
We might have to sprinkle
You
that.
should say baby chicks.